Howdy, 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 and welcome tonight, folks. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Tonight, we got a special, it's actually pretty much breaking news. We know our good friend Mona, aka Fat Grammy, has been working diligently with the Office of the Inspector General for LAPD, and we've got some news on that. We got a lot of things going on in the community here, folks. So I'm glad you took a moment to be here. I mean, if you don't realize how much is going on, this is, every night I've been on here streaming. So, normally I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sundays, but I've got every night this week I'm going to be doing lives here on the channel because there's just so much going on and it's just too much to pass up. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our pal, pretty much a member of the channel here. Welcome, Mona Fat Grammy. Howdy.
Good evening, you guys.
How are we doing tonight?
I'm going to do a disclaimer here. The skies are getting a little bit dark, and I hear some rumbling in the distance. And I have good old Elon Musk internet. So,
yeah,
if
that
I happen
Tesla
to
internet.
lose you, I'll pop back in.
Yeah, if she's had it a couple times now where it's started to freeze up on her. She just pops out and comes right on back in. So if that happens, folks, don't worry about it. She'll be back in as soon as she can get that signal back. So let's say hi to everybody we got tonight. We got Clearwater Chad is in the house. What's up, brother? Been working all that big overtime, making that fat money. Let's see. Cece, how you doing tonight? Yeah, I get it. There's a lot of replays and things like that. CC saying, oh, look at that pretty puppy. Trying so hard not to miss this. There's just no way to cram in all these replays. So getting smarter. There you go. Leslie Girl's here tonight. Of course, we got Mona Englert. We have the doppelganger to Fat Grammy there. And
My twinsy.
There you go, twinsy. Okay. Then we've got one of my amazing mods, Laura Waldy. I can't say enough. Sir Crepitus is in the house. Welcome, Sir Crepitus. Another regular on here. Jim Kohler's here. Let's see, making sure we're not missing too many people here. Miss Sunrise Dawn, another great mod, is in here. Oh man, that looks like Roscoe when he's trying to act like he hasn't done anything wrong. Selena's in here. Hey, my buddy Dave from Thailand has the channel Gotta Love Thailand. Really great guy, does some great content out there. Gary Mackey, another one of my mods, is here. My goodness, it's a good night. We got everybody's in the house tonight. Pamela SP Butterfly. Looking forward to hearing your update. Awesome. Let's see who else we got. We got Nerman's in here. What's going on, Nerman? Let's see, Lisa Robinson with that beautiful black lab there. How's them kaiju dogs of yours doing, Mona?
Well, if you hear the snoring, it's because he's laying at the bottom of my bed here, and he's got his legs straight up. So
I know Roscoe's up on the back of the couch right now, just snoring his head off. We got Clearwater Erie PA's here, Matt. MAA SPTV Canada. Make sure you check out his channel. It does a lot of great stuff out of Canada there, and primarily Ontario. Debbie P, what's going on, Debbie? Let's see, Lucy Raylan. When we got there, we got the pretty kitty on there. Nancy Alley, Liz the White Witch. Welcome back, Liz. Where am I at here? My goodness, folks, I came in from doing. I was out in the yard just busting butt today. I came in and literally sat down and passed out. So I'm just trying to get back on my feet. Kim Can Do. And my last mod, Anna Flax, is in here. Howdy, Anna. I like that picture. That's a good one. All right. So there's been a lot going on, hasn't there?
There's been a lot going on. It's been pretty darn busy watching all the different streams, and it is so incredible how much is going on. And then you look today, I was like, Eric Rader was over there all by himself until Chris got over there. And last night, Pinche Becky was all by herself for a long time. And it just seems like it kind of goes in waves. It spurts in waves.
And
and which is great.
well, we were talking backstage before this started, um, a lot of people got to realize that doing these streams, getting out there, doing the protests and all that, you got to be careful not to get burnt out with this stuff. It'll happen, and when it sets in, it'll get you pretty quick. Doing, here it is. It's I'm doing all this work. It's May. I'm doing all this work to our yard, getting everything ready. June 2nd is going to be our 34th wedding anniversary. So we're going to have a cookout.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And we're going to have a cookout. So we've been out busting butt, getting the yard done, just getting everything taken care of. And, it's kind of, it's a lot because I'm going from sun up till way past sundown, especially doing these as many of these streams as I'm doing. So you have to be careful, folks. And you want to be out there, you want to do this stuff, just be prepared. Don't overdo it. Don't jump in so hard that 2-3 weeks down the road you're sitting there going, what am I doing?
Hmm.
So pace
Well,
yourself.
the
Go ahead.
burnout is also the exhaustion. There's
Mhm.
a when you're a never in, just to use this example, when you're a never in and you're not directly involved with the discrimination or with the harassment or the abuse, and you don't have a direct loved one right in front of your face, that exhaustion can peak so quickly that all of a sudden everybody starts to peel back, and the people that are needing that support don't feel the support anymore. And so if you need a break, take a break. If you are feeling exhaustion or feeling like you're not making a difference or not going anywhere, and all you're do is just trudging through sand and sludge and quicksand, take a break. So that way you don't just throw your hands up and say it's not worth it, because this is definitely worth it.
Yeah, this is a worthwhile fight, and it's something that you just got to remember, folks, that I understand you want to get in there, you want to start kicking butt, you want to start getting things going, but you got to learn a pace that you can keep at. And you've also got to remember, if you have a significant other or you have a family, you got to think about your responsibilities there also, and they can actually conflict with each other. I've seen people that literally have ended their marriages because they've jumped in feet first, and that's the only thing that they're thinking about. And it gets to a point where their partner, their spouse, whatever you want to call it, they said, enough, I'm not doing this anymore. And it's been real problems. So everybody make
I,
sure that you say thank you to Sir Crepitus if you got one of those gifted memberships he's got there. And thank you, Sir Crepitus.
I was,
So
and thank you, Sir Crepitus. I was laughing because was it yesterday or the day before on your stream? Sir Crepitus said his wife said he needed to tattoo, or she needed to tattoo SPTV on her head so that way he'd look at her, and it was funny, not funny.
we, well, the the wife, she had that courier service for years. I mean, we're talking probably 30 years she's been doing courier type work. And she just got finally just tired of it, and she closed everything down. And we get tired of putting 100,000 miles on a car in a year, and just constantly gone in the car. So now that she's not working, I'm retired, so we're together so much now. She literally says, when you do your live streams, that gives me my quiet time, gives you your quiet
There
time,
you go.
so we don't have to worry about things. And it's nice to have, but you need to think about that. His wife says he was mostly joking, but it might have been a small hint. There you go. Let's see. Mixed mutt burnout on any job stinks. Trying to get my daughter to understand it. Yeah. Mike, my daughter's got she started a new job probably about 5-6 months ago, and she's like, I don't know if I really want to keep doing this. And I'm like, look, you've got something going there. It's a good job. You're making good money. What are you going to do? Well, I can't have a life and work this job. I said, well, you know what? That's called being in a career.
It's
As
called
a
being
cop,
an adult.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. DJ Nico. I use the analog of us being like power packs. All have different capacity, but all need to recharge and rest, or you will start to break. Never have the same capacity again. Yeah, that's true. There
It's
are people
true.
that get into this like that. So, should we start off with the video first, or should we? What do you want to start off with us?
Sure, let's start off. And really, what we're going to look at is the other day, Scotty, Defender of Ants, DOA, had gone in to respond to a text that he received about the cookout fiasco where those four thugs came and pushed over his grill. And so that's where we're going. So he went in and he assumed he would be talking with the man. And I'll let you go ahead and play it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me make sure I've got the right one up here because that's just how it goes with me nowadays. There we go. All right. So we got that. Let me make sure I'm loading it. Like I said,
And
folks,
it's
I am almost dead to the world here. So I am trying to keep up as I go, but
and
I'm
it's
going to
just
be
a
a little
small clip of the whole thing. The whole thing was 4 or 5 hours. And this
yeah.
was it's just a 1 minute
And
clip.
I'll talk about the reality of police interviews and how they are. Um, it's everybody
But
thinks that
just
everything happens so quick. So here we go, and this is from DOA, Defender of Ants.
yeah, that one. But just the fact that it's there is reassuring. Yes, absolutely. So I understand you're looking for a couple of incidents. Yes. I have that officer researching it right now to see if something was already taken. Okay. Because I have a book this big on reports that have been generated out of Scientology already. So there's a very big chance that one's already been taken. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and those are specific to that they were swatting calls. Yeah, well, I have a ton. Yes, okay. I have all kinds. Yes, I know. As you're aware. Yeah, I'm very aware. So, yeah, that one. But
okay, so Mona, please explain to us who this lady is and what's going on here.
This lady, her name is Gomez. I don't know what her last name is. I didn't catch that. But she is a detective with the Los Angeles Police Department, and she has been the point of contact assigned for all of the Scientology claims. So right there is a huge W for us as a community trying to get all of this going. And so she is the person, her last name is Gomez.
Okay.
Okay, so she is the point of contact for it.
That's and I think I don't think people quite understand just the depth of that. Normally when you do a complaint, it doesn't matter how many you do. Mona, you froze up again. There you go, you're back.
I'm still here. Okay.
Normally when you do a complaint, it's going to get assigned to a detective. You could do a similar complaint or a completely different complaint the next day or even the same day, and you may not have the same detective working both those complaints. Like she said, she's got a stack of complaints that she's going over now. She is being directly assigned to handling these cases, which is it's very important because now we don't have a detective who is focusing on 15 different cases at one time. She is focusing on all just the Scientology complaints, the swatting, the what happened to DOA, what happened to Aaron, what happened to Confident Chris, all of the attacks that have happened. She's going to be the one who's going to be going through all of that. So if anybody's going to be able to start linking these things together and start moving forward on this as some kind of concerted effort on the part of Scientology to stop the protesters and stop the SPs, this is what we've been looking for. And how so
No, the reason she's saying she has a stack of this many, which I thought, and she explains it in a little bit. I didn't clip that also.
okay.
But when we visited with the OIG making a claim against LAPD, the Office of Inspector General, one of the reports that we gave them, and I had offered anybody who wanted this copy, were all of the false reports that I gleaned from all of the streams that I could find. I quit at that point. I quit at about 52 or 54 of them, just from the middle of January till the beginning of April. That's 3 months for 50 some claims, 50 some calls. And at that point, it was about, I think it was $145,000. I can't remember. It wasn't that much. Since then, we've added, I think, 24 more calls. And then I kind of gave up.
Right.
But we're at about $235,000 right now, just from the values that I gave. So even if you were looking at just the 52, let's just use 50 because that's easier. The 50 calls, that's 50 calls that she is now responsible for investigating. Some of those calls were for report of man with a gun. They were the swattings. They were for the fire department gas leaks, fire in the basement. They were for somebody had somebody stuffed in their van and took a person. They were for guy out in the hammock. There was a guy out in the hammock. Somebody stood on their lawn. Somebody chalked. I mean, so it's incredibly everything from get off my lawn, false claims, to a man with a rifle or with a, when he had the saw,
The chainsaw.
that one day, the chainsaw.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were all there, but the variance of degrees of the calls, and most of them were false calls. Now, if you look at that, I also thought of it as a police. You've been teaching me something there, Mr. Poe. Is that okay? You can look at it as there's been 50 calls, false calls against the protesters, or it could be that the protesters have threatened them 50 times. So you can think of it both ways.
Right.
Except for how scary is that protester that's in the hammock talking to somebody, okay?
Yeah.
So, you have to give one with the other. But in the main ones, the big ones were all false.
And let's remember also, I see a lot of folks talking about she's a one-person task force, those kinds of things. But
She's
what you
not.
got to remember, she's got people that are working with her. She is
Yes.
the point officer on it. She's going to be the OIC officer in charge. There's going to be other people that are working with her. She even mentions it right there that she had someone looking into something else to do with the case. But it's not a fact of she's just doing this by herself. She's got other people that are working with her, but she's just going to be the lead person that everything's going to go through. So
Sue, you had a question about how did I estimate the cost? And how I estimated the cost is I took last year's, let's say for the police department. Last year's police department's budget was $1 billion. I'm just throwing those numbers out there. And they had estimated 10,000 calls. And I know those numbers don't work out. I'm just telling you that's how. And those are reported numbers. And so I just divided the budget out of the estimated calls for the year, and it came up to about $1,200 per police car per call. Ambulances were about the same, $1,200. Fire department, every call is $1,600. And then they had an estimation of $3,000 for the air chopper, for the air birds, the choppers. And so that's how I came up with those numbers. And if there were 4 police cars that showed up, it was $1,200 a piece, $4,800 for the call. That's how I came up with those numbers. Now they could be wrong. They're probably low, but at least it's a measuring stick. That's what we used it for, a measuring stick.
and you also have to remember, folks, if you come in and you overestimate what things cost, then it throws shadow or shade on what you're doing. So coming in a little bit lower than what it may be is is a little bit better practice at it, because when you come in and you say, well, it costs you guys this much money, and they break out their books and they go, well, no, actually it costs us about 75% of that. You know, you want to leave room for movement in there. And if you go lower, it looks better on your part, because when they sit there and they go, well, wait a minute, no, it actually costs us, you know, considerably more than what you're saying. So, but the big thing is,
And the other question is, what is she exactly? Any arrest, any claim, any complaint that has Scientology's name on it. Any.
yeah, that's the thing is, and we got to remember with this, folks, this is a victory. Okay. We now have a point of contact, a point of leadership that is going to be heading all this up. And I mean, you saw how she was with Scotty there. She's very nice, very personable. I really like the way that she came in and she sat down with him, keeping him, you know, letting him know I'm working on this. I got other people looking into things. I mean, I have all the answers right here, but at least I'm going to start getting it. We're starting to get the ball rolling on this.
Right. Because there's a lot of claims like when they on Pinche Becky the other day, where the officers were used as guards. They weren't called in for a reason, but they were used as guards. And all of those claims or complaints against those, because there wasn't an arrest, it was just the people were trespassed and made to leave the event. And so that is also part of it, if there was a complaint made because of that. And yeah, I've been making complaints on stuff like that, and I know a lot of other people have too. And so all of that's part of it. She's got a big job. Definitely not going to be easy.
And Miami never end. The question, detective wouldn't be lying, correct? I have trust issues. Well, the thing is that if you don't, you know, what do? You make complaints, and then when the detective calls you, you don't go in because you don't trust the police. You're going to get nothing done. You have to make that, like I've said, you have to make that forward movement at some point, because if you don't, then it all just dies. The complaint goes away, everything. Sorry, have you got the cottonwood, the cottonwood up there, drop? Oh my gosh.
I sound like I'm a smoker.
My goodness, my
Yeah.
my fire pit right now is full. The cottonwood fluffs, if you see it, it's like the dandelion fluffs when they turn white and fuzzy and start blowing around. That's the
Yeah.
exact same thing with cottonwood, except it's like a billion times worse. Literally, I go out there with my lawn sweeper and hit my yard, and I've got my fire pit. I have a 9-foot fire pit. It's 9 foot across. I literally have 4 feet of that in my fire pit right now. And
Yeah.
when that goes, it's going to be almost nuclear. It's going to be like a 30-foot flame coming out of there. It's going to be crazy. I'm just waiting for the wind to die down.
If we can talk a little bit about the ordeal the other day with Pinche Becky, when they were at the El Salvadorian consulate event.
Mhm.
So you have to, and I know you do because you're a cop, ex-cop.
Right.
That's what you did. But as a person, we can get all up in arms that they trespassed and told Becky to leave, and Danny and Leah to leave. But the issue is that the police were there to do a job. They were there to be security. And Scientology got to the consulate and told the consulate, psst, 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 they're going to ruin your event. They're bad people, blah, 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 blah. And the consulate said, okay, go ahead and transport past them. The cops didn't just do it because they're bad people. They're just doing their job. That's what they were supposed to do because the consulate said they were in fear. So they told them they had to leave. Now you can toss it up and do all sorts of different gymnastics with it. But seriously, the cops were just doing their job. Scientology was behind it.
And that's what you got to remember, folks, is any case like that on trespassing or something like that, you have to have someone who calls in and makes the complaint, and that individual, organization, whatever you want to call it, has to be able to be the one who can make that. So they had to have been given it by the El Salvadorian. Was that it? Was that
Yes.
the festival? So
Yes.
you know, that's the thing is that at some point it had to be, they had to give the okay for Scientology to be part of that whole festival thing that was going on and give them the authority to have them trespass. The police just don't go up and go, you're trespassed. Someone has to call them and they have to be given, we want these people
Right.
trespassed, we want them off of this. So that's how it works. Let's see which LAPD falsely about battle closures. I don't even know what that is. Let's see. So, folks, as I was saying, the thing is, I see a lot of people saying, well, this doesn't, is this really going to happen? Is anything going to happen from it? Anywhere where we get a win, it's a win. All right.
It
And you
is.
have to go from there. Scientology makes big, bold moves in what they do. All right. We're slowly creeping our way into it. And we have to make sure we have to keep consistent with it. And I think Sir Crepitus, made a very good point. If you're a victim of a crime and you report it, you have to stay on top of it. All right. And a lot of people think, well, I made my report. Why should I have to keep following up with it? Well, that's a reality, folks. And with a lot of departments having shorting on their staffing and everything like that, these things can happen. You can get lost in the mix. And when you think about something minor, like something trivial, like a trespassing warning, all right, that's just going to go right into a pile. So you have to keep on top of it, and you have to keep, make sure that something's being done.
Yeah, it's a win that they see that it's aggregate.
Yeah.
It's a win that they see for us or them. I know Scotty said the other day, he goes, well, it's either them that's going to be RICO'd or us, one or the other by the end of summer. And that may be, I don't think it's going to be us, but I do believe with everything that he put out a notice coming, we have to take the wins because we have to take the baby steps in order for this to happen. One of the better and bigger wins is you had a detective sitting across from Scotty, laughing and joking and letting him live stream. That was a win. Letting him live stream the investigation and just the interview. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's
And
and that's the
smiling
thing
and
is,
laughing and having Osa see her laughing with Scotty.
mhm.
Yeah.
And you'll also notice it's someone we haven't seen involved in any of this stuff before.
Right.
It looks like it's a fresh detective that's being brought in to handle this, and it's not someone that everyone's been dealing with. So this is these are all wins, because if they brought a detective in from a different area and assigned them into this one, that's a huge win, because they're not part of the Hollywood division BS that's going on over there. But either way, you've got, number one, like you said, she allowed for Scotty to live stream the interview, which is very, very rare that any of that's going to be allowed. They're typically going to have their own cameras and audio system in there, and then you have to FOIA or ask for a copy of the interview tape. But she allowed him to stream while he was in there. That's a huge
Right.
win.
Right.
So these are things that, this is all starting to turn for us, folks. And you have to remember, this is a win, and it's the kind of win that we need. It's the kind of forward movement that's going to start recharging those batteries, as DJ Nico was saying earlier about the batteries going flat and all that. This is the kind of thing that starts recharging those batteries and starts giving people direction and starts giving them energy and to push forward to keep going in this movement. So this is a win. We just, I know a lot of people expect, we're going to have everything has to happen tomorrow. It doesn't happen that way. Even if
I
they
am so guilty of that. I told you before, I am a results-oriented person, not a process person. And this process drives me absolutely freaking crazy. The step by step, when I look at things, I see the end result, and that's what I want to happen today.
right.
Not 5 years from now, but today. And this drives me absolutely nuts.
I'm just typing something in.
That's okay. And that interview is on the Lore of DOA's channel, not DOA's channel. And it's about 39 minutes in. And then he's on the road for a while, and then he goes and he loses all credibility over at the Hollywood station. But
So
on the Lore of DOA is where that one is.
So, and you know what? Let's see here. That was, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to that snippet in there. And then you can also go to his channel from that actual video clip there and see what's going on. Lizzie, you know what? I mean, with everything that's been going on, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I would be surprised if they didn't try doing that. Let's remember when the Jane Does made their complaints, and yes, I know they've been public and all that. I know that a lot of them have come out, and especially one of them has been very public about what's going on. I still am respectful of them and who they are, and that's why I continue to say the Jane Does. I haven't made contact with any of them. I haven't tried to, but if I do and they say it's okay, then I'll start using their names. But until that time, I want to be respectful of that. But you saw what happened with the detectives in that, where the former chief allowed Scientology's representative to come in, where they brought in boxes and boxes and boxes of what they called evidence of police misuse, mishandling, whatever you want to call it, against the officers in those cases. So I would see the same kind of thing going on here. They are very good about going on the offensive on those kinds of things. Now I'll let you answer that, but my answer to that is there may be other investigations going on, but right now, those are things that I would say we couldn't talk about. What do you say, Mona?
A little bit. I want to give a little bit of hope on that end.
There you go.
We had done the OIG. I think I've already mentioned that I did a federal OIG through the Department of Justice. It got kicked to the FBI and then kicked back to the OIG of the Department of Justice, and the TIOGA, which is the IRS OIG, Office of Inspector General. So both of those areas, I have already done federal claims. Now, I'm a never in, and so I am not a victim or a survivor of the abuse, so it doesn't hold that much weight. Right now I'm in talking with folks. I have the same complaint already worded out with the specific terminology, the specific legal aspects that needs to be put in there, all the correct verbiage for the complaint for survivors that were children or had children that were abused, so that way they can start processing those claims themselves. Now, when that's going to happen, I'm not too sure. It does need to happen, and I feel with the it's not a sexual term, but the climax coming up with the occupation that they are planning on the 1st, this may be our opportune time to get those complaints in.
And let me say, folks, anything that if you think it's been slow with getting LAPD to respond to anything, feds are worse. They'll come in like gangbusters. They'll start off on everything. They'll start building everything up, and then you won't hear anything from them. And the reason that that's going to happen is the feds have this habit of they will have everything that they need to prosecute, to go for an indictment on someone, but they'll sit on it for a little bit. and then they'll surprise the person with that indictment. So it's I've worked with it enough. I've seen it. Sir Crepitus, how about you? But another good point I want to talk about on this is what you were bringing up about the fact you're a never end. When we're talking about making these complaints to the DOJ, to LAPD, to any of these sources, a lot of stuff as never ends, we can't personally attest to. We can't testify to Scientology does this, Scientology does that, because we weren't in Scientology. We don't have direct personal knowledge of it. Now, as to things like fair gaming, going through people's mailboxes, putting private investigators outside your house.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on just 1 second. I need to.
Oh, you can mute if you need to. But when it comes to, things like, following me and Chad back from protesting in Clearwater, these are all things that we can directly attest to. We can testify to them. We can give witness statements to. We can go to court on. But the fact is that, when it comes to how Scientology operates internally, that's where you have to have people like Serge. You have to have Aaron. You need Liz Gale. You need Jenna Miscavige. You need the folks who are in, because they can directly testify or give evidence into how Scientology actually operates and how they did operate, based on the complaints that, say, Serge's complaint that he puts in, or a complaint that Liz Gale would put in, or Aaron would put in. They can testify. This is how that Scientology operated at that time. They can say whatever they want about now, but this is what happened to me and this is how it operates. And then you have the other folks that are former Scientologists who can say, that's exactly how we were trained to do these things. That's exactly how we would handle it. So,
it's exactly what we were talking about the other night, is that when the police go in, or the FBI, or anybody raids child services, when they go in, they're looking for bruises and scratches and broken bones and dirty houses and neglect. And the sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right.
You can hear the shots going off back there. They're all shooting. We got a shooting range in the backyard.
And West Coast Fancy Nancy, congratulations on today being the last day of school. So,
oh wow, nice.
She's an educator, and today's the last day. So I was like, yeah.
Cool.
And Sandy Fletcher, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the thoughts and comments on that. And as always, for anybody that's coming out from the down under, Ozzy. So that's
so when they're going in and they're looking at mental abuse, and physical abuse isn't always so evident. It's a long marathon. It certainly isn't walking in and saying, oh, shut the school down. It's going to be a hard thing to do. It is not going to be easy.
And your twin was the first to respond. So, but folks, and that's another thing you have to think about when you make these complaints, bruises. When you initially make a complaint after an incident has happened, or it's witnessed while it's going on, bruises don't show up immediately. Bruises come in a day or two. Bruises go away. So you've got to document things. You've got to get it all in there. You've got to build a case yourself, and never just rely on someone else to take care of it for you. All right. Make sure you carry you put together, the evidence that you need. And that's important stuff. Say with Scotty DOA, when they knocked over his grill, make sure you document what kind of damages were done. Thankfully that was all, there was a live going on. So all of that is documented. But, you also want to document, well, this is the grill is trashed. I can no longer use the grill. All their things, when they did that, they flung it over and it fell and it destroyed all this, because every step of it multiplies what it is. And every state has limits to what is a misdemeanor and unfortunately it goes by dollar sign when it comes to damage to property. they're going to say, well, at this point, at $1,000, at $5,000, it's all, it's a misdemeanor to that point. But you want to make sure that you have all of your bases covered on that, because one of the things you got to remember is Scientology has an army of lawyers. All right.
They do.
They're going to attack everything. So you want to make sure you document and you have every aspect that you can covered going into these things, because it's one thing to have the police present their evidence and all that. But when you're the person who's going to be given the testimony, the evidence, and you're going to be given your actual testimony as evidence in a proceeding, those attorneys are going to do everything they can to pick it apart. They're going to do everything that they can to try to destroy any credibility that you have. So backing everything with facts and actual documentation, that's the big thing. So,
and again, not to be really rude or anything else, but again, when it comes to law enforcement and the judicial system, without the receipts, it's just a sad story.
Yep, exactly. We used, we had the statement when I was in, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right. So nowadays, of course, that was, you got to remember, it was 1992 when I first got into law enforcement. So, but that was a statement and a saying that continued on throughout my career. Of course, now, it's expanded. If it's not on paper, if it's not on video, those kinds of things are, those all fall into it. But
sometimes with Scientology, even if it's on video, it still didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's think about it. Look at Nance. All right. She's literally the boob gate. I mean, my gosh. And again, I cannot express how embarrassed I am as a retired law enforcement officer by what happened with Nance over there. We also have to look at other things as well when it comes into this. I was talking about staffing problems that every law enforcement agency in this country is going through. Those are things you have to also take into account. Having a solid detective that's going to be able to handle or be the point person on all of this is going to be, it's amazing that we have one person who's going to be spearheading it. So that's great to see that. Again, that is a huge victory. Oh, we got a real problem one here. You see that? Pinche Becky.
Hugs to mommy, Becky. Hugs to mommy.
Yes, send our love to your mom. And Becky was going to join us, but we were going to have Becky join us, but she's over taking care of her mother right now. So if
family's important,
if there ever was a good reason for a pass on it, that's it. So I know you wanted to talk about the going over how you want to handle things when you're dealing with any kind of government agency or law enforcement. Do you want to bring that up and we can go over that again?
We can, if anybody else wants to take. I don't want to go through each step, but I would like to at least talk about how where we're at on the steps, on the to-do list.
Yeah, I think that would be good. We'll go ahead and pull that up, and you go ahead and you lead on that where you want to be.
Okay. So instead of changing the LAPD Scientology landscape, my ultimate goal on this is to revoke the 501c3 of Scientology and all of its entities. And that's my ultimate goal. Now, taking out David Miscavige, taking out Scientology as a whole, that will happen if you revoke the 501c3. We know that, right? So we've gone through all the steps of researching the history and then identifying the target. We know the target's Scientology, but we also had to look at the target of Scientology was the Church of Spiritual Technology, the Church of Scientology, the RCT, Religious Center for Technologies.
Is it RTC, Religious Technology Center?
Yeah, RTC. There you go. Sorry about that. CSI. There are over 50 organizations that I found that are part of it. Now we're going to add Mace Kingsley to that mix. We're going to add the Delphi School to that mix. And those are all centers and businesses that fall under the Church of Scientology religious entity. And that's the name I found in their documents that they signed with the IRS back in 1999, which makes them almost untouchable by the IRS for auditing and for bringing them in for anything else. And so I've found the target. I found this, and the ultimate target is the Association of Scientology International Member Trust. That is the top dog on the food chain.
Now, do each of those have their own recognized as an individual nonprofit other than Scientology itself? So
yes, sir.
That's how they're able to, I would say that's how they'd be able to skirt around a lot of different things. Well, that has nothing to do with us. That's RTC or
exactly.
That's ASI.
That's what he wrote in his papers when he had all those lawyers form all of this stuff, is so that way, if they think you're going to get us on the right, you're not, because we're going to be left. And if you think we're going to get us on the left, nope, we're back on the right. And you're never going to know who actually to put into a lawsuit, because there's so many different entities that make up this web of lies of this business. And it's a business, it's not a church. Well, it is a business.
It goes back to what, something you see in movies and you see in all the conspiracy type things and all that, where you have someone. A good example is a movie about a president going, why have I like in what is that, the Nicolas Cage movie where he found the Mason's secret chamber under the church and all that.
Wrong person to ask about movies.
Well, he, in that they're in one of those movies, there was something where they were talking to the president or something like that. And the president's like, why did I not know about this? Well, a great example, Independence Day, when they were talking about Area 51 and the spaceships and all that. The president goes, why have I never known about this? 2 words, sir: plausible deniability. And that's what that reminds me of. Right. Is it's well, how would I know about that? National treasure. Thank you, Sarah. How would I know about that? I work over here in Flag. They're a completely different organization from us, where they have their own thing. So, how can you say I have anything to do with that? So that's why this is important, breaking all this down and showing there's so many. It's like trying to work with an octopus. There's every time you get one tentacle under control, there's 7 more coming at you. It's that kind of kind of thing that you're dealing with. So
that's right. So knowing that the IRS, and I've said this, and so it's old news for some of you. I'm sorry if I'm boring you and rehashing some of the stuff, but the IRS 501c3 status is not going to be taken away from the IRS. It's not going to happen. It's got to be taken away because they're performing illegal activities and corrupted public policy. Those are the only 2 ways. And the only way is that it has to be illegal activities and corrupted public policy of the organization, not of an individual person, such as Warren Jeffs of the FLDS. He's the one in jail because he did it. The priests are the one that took the fall for it, because they're the one that did the crime or the illegal activity. Here we need to show that the doctrine of the organization audits, ethics handling, and courses, and then everything that falls underneath that are the doctrine. The organization's doctrine is what is harming and abusing the children. That's the best way. It's harming elderly and other people too, but the best way is to directly link it to the children and how it's harming them. So that's where we're at now. That's the step we're at now, is now we need some receipts to prove that those doctrines are harming children.
Mm-hmm.
Serge did a beautiful, he does a beautiful soliloquy about this. He talks from beginning to end, but again, without the receipts, is just a sad story. For as sad as it is, and as much as it pisses me off, until you get people saying, yep, this happened to me, and yep, this happened to me. If we get one or two, cool. If we get 100, even cooler. If we get 1,000, cool beans. Even one person to step up and say, under these circumstances, under this doctrine, it's not been tried in the past. This will be the first time that this method has been used. And because as an individual claim, they have to use, they all signed their billion-year contracts and their 2.5 and 5-year contracts under the clause where they have to talk about it. The negotiation, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The they have to be able to talk about it together, not go to court over it.
Where they deposition?
No, not deposition. They
Or
all
we talk.
signed them. They all
Oh, okay.
signed
The
them saying
non-disclosures,
that they,
NDAs or whatever they call those.
yeah, whatever it was. So that way they can't take them to court. They can't arbitration. Thank you very much, Laura.
Religious
So
arbitration.
they all signed arbitration individually, or their parents signed arbitration for them. And
Yep.
so the only way to get around that is to have them file claims and complaints against the FBI or the IRS for not protecting them. And then the investigation can go forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, this is one of the reasons why.
So you have to sidestep the arbitration.
This is one of the reasons why I get so upset with what is going on with Mike Render and a few other folks, is when you were that highly placed, you know what happens. You know how things went. And you should be up there putting everything that you know into it, in helping with getting the ball rolling on the actual federal investigations or the actual complaints federally. That's why I have a problem with it. If you're truly out here to stop them and you're really wanting to shut down Scientology, you would be on the phone. You'd be emailing me. How do I get hold of Mona? What do I do? How can I help her out? How can I be the Rosetta Stone that when the FBI is looking at these documents and going, this all looks like hieroglyphics to me with all these acronyms and these different names and things like that. That's,
yeah, look at us trying to figure out what it was saying just the other night, just in that one darn website.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is we're sitting there, we're reading the Mace Kingsley website. We're nothing more than just reading off of their website, and there's a lot of stuff none of us even understood. So,
but you can build, and I'm going to be real honest. Mike Rinder has that arbitration clause just like everybody else. They legally, they would have to fight the arbitration clause correctness and legalities before anything else. So you have to bypass the arbitration and make the complaints against the FBI and the IRS for their illegal activities and it brings it back to the investigation. And I'm no whiz. I'm not any smarter than anybody else, believe me. But
Well, I
I've
think you're much
figured
more
out enough that
credit for. So,
information's been kind of downloaded in my brain of going, oh, that's a loophole. Oh, that's a loophole. And it's been kind of fun and exciting, but I think nobody's really going forward with it because they're not seeing the loophole that I'm seeing. And uh, call me silly, but it's a way. It's a way. And with the impetus of the occupation coming in, and hopefully all of the notoriety that that's going to get, this could be the best time for us to make a huge impact.
to make the push forward. Yeah. And Marilee, I think Mona Engler is correct on that. I believe that was just in the one state, but the thing is about their arbitration being struck down. I thought that was just in California or Florida or someplace where that was being used, but I don't
arbitration was nationwide.
it was a nationwide strike against arbitration.
No. What I'm saying is that arbitration, all the children around the whole nation, actually around the whole world, signed arbitration clauses, and you would have to have it struck down in every state in order to be able to use it.
That's what Marilee is talking about. In one of the cases, they actually struck down the arbitration clause, and we're moving forward around that, saying that the arbitration that Scientology is setting up violates either constitutional rights or several different instances. The thing is that only applies to that case. It might apply through principle on other cases, but the fact is that until we get like a federal court that says no, you're not doing this anymore,
and and they have so long to appeal that decision, and they're looking to appeal it right now, so nothing's going to be done until appeals are exhausted.
Yeah. And everybody, make sure you say howdy to Feral Cheryl, another one of our awesome folks that are in here. So let's see. I know Zach's been having some medical issues and some things going on. I've been trying to give him a wide berth on things, but yeah, he and I have talked about it. I'd love to get him back in here so we can talk about some of those things. Plus, there's a lot of other topics I want to go with Zach on that. Go ahead, Mona.
I was just going to say, I would love to talk to Zach, but I know that he has had some medical stuff going on also. And to be real honest, I'm just a small channel. I'm just little old me. And like we've talked in the past, it's not that I know anything anymore. It's just I would love to be able to just say, hey, what about this? And at some point, that connection will be made to where I can bend his ear to.
I'll get you in touch with Zach, or Laura can get you in touch with Zach also, because she's one of his mods as well. So let's see. Mona Engler, that case will be the state groundbreaking case for the downfall of their arbitration. Hopefully, but it could very well go to another state and a judge will uphold it again. I mean, that's the thing is that they're not bound to go by what another judge from another state does. That's why we need it to be on a federal level. That's where it makes a real big impact.
And the best way to do it is because then that could be 50 years before all of that gets done and said. The best way is to find a way around it. I've figured out a way around it. As I said, not because I'm brilliant. It's just because there's an obvious loophole that I saw. So if we can do it, let's do it.
Yeah. And I know Pinche Becky was asking about it. It is actually your lawyer friend, Zach Morgan. He's been on with Aaron several times, and this is his YouTube channel. It is your lawyer friend, Zach. Really, really nice guy. He is actually a practicing attorney, licensed practicing attorney, really good guy. He does a lot of great stuff. So it's, he's real credible kind of person. And like you were saying, neither one of us are experts on these things, but we've dug into things. I've got decades of experience. you are just killing it with, getting, digging into the facts behind things and showing what's going on there. And a lot of, that we just got to keep digging on these things. That's how we actually
There
start
has
making
been
strides.
so much done in the years past, and I look at that in two ways. I bow down to everything Mark Bunker's done, everything Ron's done, everything my friend Zach's done, the Scientology Money Project. They have done so much in the past that this is just you and I think, and in a lot of the never ends, we're just fresh eyes. We're looking at all this information and going, oh, okay, well, what about this? It's just, it, stuff starts getting stale when you've been doing it for so many years, right?
Right.
It's nice to have fresh eyes. And then on the other side of it, I want to smack them upside the head and say, look how long you've been doing this. Why haven't you, and
Yeah.
so
But
both get away
you
in
get
both.
focused on things, and sometimes you don't realize there's another step you could take. You get, you start getting so focused on things, you don't realize that. And Gary, I think that was actually a federal agency that said that NDAs or non-compete clauses and those kinds of things were no longer legal. I don't believe that was actually a court ruling on that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be either lawsuits or there's gonna be appeals on it. But from what I heard, that was actually like, Office of Equal Employment or something, the SEC or something. But they said that you can't force someone to sign a non-compete clause. It's it violates either the Constitution or something like that. Yeah, and yeah, Zach is also a member of the SPTV Foundation board, so a really good guy. And Serenity says if you ever need help researching, they'd love to help you. So
Thank you.
let's see here. Well, let's see here. I am absolutely worn out, Mona. I am dying.
That's
here.
okay. I've got mosquitoes that are coming in and lightning down the road, so
That's awesome.
probably getting ready to lose you anyways.
But folks, I want you to realize this is very important. I know that some folks are like, well, what does this mean? How, does this really mean? This is big. This is a big step forward. This is one of those things that we need to make sure we stay on top of. And this is where your due diligence and keeping your eye on the target and not just backing down. That's why, you set yourself a pace, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Mona, anything to lead us out of this?
Just keep on keeping on. We are making headway, and whether it's me or you, or at this point we say, okay, it's time for legal to take this on now. When we get to that step, that'll be an amen. Let's go. That'll be cool too. That don't become disheartened. Just keep going, one foot in front of the other, and eventually, and you don't know where you're going. You can't make your roadmap if you don't know where you're starting. And then we've all have been digging in to figure out where we're starting, and now we can walk along the path.
Yeah, and that, folks, Pinche Becky, yeah, I'm sitting right here. My phone's right here. I still haven't been notified that I'm live. So, at least you got the notification. This whole YouTube thing is such a mess sometimes. But folks, as Mona said, we have to keep our eye on the prize. We have to keep going. Also, don't get so locked in on one central point that you don't realize that there's 20 in the shadows that you never even thought of. You always got to keep your head basically on a pivot. You've got to constantly be looking at different things. That's one of the things that I realized that I learned when I was in law enforcement, was constantly being vigilant, constantly being aware, your situational awareness, those kinds of things. Also, for the folks that were asking last night, when we were talking about Stephanie and the cult of Aaron and all that, well, someone said we needed a coin, like a Dumbledore's Army coin. So I made one up, and we got Aaron's Army coin out there. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mona is going to be joining us along with a lot of other people as we hold the SPTV Foundation Chatathon 2024. It is going to be a great night. The whole purpose of it is to celebrate the SPTV Foundation and raise money so that they can help those who are coming out of Scientology. It's going to be amazing. It's going to start at 8 p.m. and it's going to go roll from there. I think we're wrapping up at 5 a.m. is when the wrap up time is. Going to be a ton of people coming in and out. Mona's going to be joining me. Just the list keeps growing by the day, and we look forward to having each and every one of you there. And folks, I'll say it again. I'm going to beat this into the ground. We have to stay the course. We have to be prepared. We have to know it's going to take time, but we're going to get there. We just have to be vigilant. We have to stay in the fight. And remember, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.